My parents always said that my older brother would inherit everything because he was the firstborn. When I finally bought my dream house, they demanded that I transfer it to him. I simply replied, nah, I'm good off that. I grew up hearing the same sentence anytime money or inheritance came up in our house. Derek's the firstborn. That was my parents' explanation for everything. Why did Derek get the bigger bedroom growing up? Firstborn. Why did they help him buy a truck while I worked through college? Firstborn. Why was I expected to clean up after family gatherings while Derek sat on the couch watching football with my dad? Same answer every time. At first I thought it was just one of those dumb family sayings, but the older we got, the more obvious it became that my parents genuinely believed everything in the family should eventually belong to him simply because he was born first. Derek wasn't some horrible person. He was just spoiled enough to think life would always work itself out for him. Every bad financial decision somehow became a family emergency my parents rushed to fix. Meanwhile, I learned early that if I wanted something, I had to earn it myself. I moved out at 23 and spent years struggling quietly. I waitressed at night, worked office jobs during the day, and lived in tiny apartments with roommates who never replaced groceries they finished. Eventually, things got better. I got into medical sales, and for the first time in my life, I was making serious money. I kept most of it private because my family had a habit of turning my success into their emergency. Then last year, I bought my dream house. It wasn't huge or flashy, just a beautiful craftsman-style home outside Denver with hardwood floors, a wraparound porch, and giant maple trees in the yard. The day I got the keys, I sat alone on the living room floor eating takeout because I didn't even own furniture yet. I remember looking around the empty house thinking, I actually did this. Nobody helped me buy it. No family money, no gifts. Mine. A few months later, I invited my parents and Derek over for dinner. Looking back, that was my mistake. The second Derek walked inside, he started making comments. Wow, he said, looking around the kitchen. This place is nicer than I expected. My mom kept touching the countertops and cabinets like she was inspecting them. Dad wandered around asking questions about property taxes and resale value. The whole vibe felt strange. During dinner, Derek kept slipping in passive-aggressive comments. Must be nice not having kids. Medical sales must pay crazy money. Houses around here are probably worth a fortune. Then my dad suddenly put his fork down. So, he said casually, have you thought about keeping the house in the family long term? I laughed because I genuinely thought he was joking. Nobody else laughed. My stomach tightened immediately. My mom jumped in first. We've been discussing what makes the most sense for the future. Derek leaned back quietly, like he already knew where the conversation was heading. Dad cleared his throat. Your brother needs stability. Then he finally said it. You should transfer the house to Derek eventually. I honestly thought I misheard him. What? My mom spoke like she was explaining something completely reasonable. You're single. Derek has responsibilities. The house should stay with the firstborn. I stared at all three of them. The man couldn't keep his finances together for more than 6 months, and they wanted me to hand over the house I spent years working for because he happened to come out first. Then Derek shrugged and said, it just makes sense. That irritated me more than anything else. No embarrassment, no hesitation, just entitlement. I slowly set my wine glass down and looked directly at them. Nah, I said calmly. I'm good off that. The table went completely silent. Dad's face immediately turned red. My mom looked genuinely shocked, like refusing had never crossed her mind. I bought this house, I said. Why would I transfer it to Derek? Because family helps family, my mom snapped. I looked directly at Derek. When exactly has Derek ever helped me? Nobody answered. Dinner ended awkwardly after that. They left angry, and the guilt trip started almost immediately. Calls from my mom crying about family unity, texts from relatives telling me to respect tradition, voicemails from my dad lecturing me about legacy. Then things got worse. About a week later, my realtor called sounding uncomfortable. Derek had contacted her directly, asking questions about ownership transfers and family property laws. That was the moment I stopped feeling guilty. The next morning, I hired an attorney. I locked everything down legally and moved the property into a trust so nobody could touch it without me personally approving it. A couple months later, my parents tried one last time during a Labor Day cookout with the entire extended family there. Dad started talking loudly about selfishness and family duty. Then my Aunt Karen asked why I wouldn't help my brother if I clearly had the money. So I quietly pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. Inside were copies of Derek contacting my realtor and messages from my parents discussing how I'd eventually give in. The entire table went silent. Derek looked sick. Dad just stared at the papers without saying a word. I grabbed my keys, stood up, and said, now everybody knows why the answer was no. Then I left. Last weekend, I sat on my front porch drinking coffee while looking at the roses I planted near the steps. Quiet house. Quiet morning. Still mine.